So I just wanted to go over how or what the difference is, how you can use TrackMat and what the difference is between TrackMat and Luma Mat. What I'm going to create is an example so that you can hopefully see the difference. So over here in After Effects, I've got my logo. I've just done a pre-composition of all that work that we did earlier, where all this stuff was going on. Pop. And so I've got all that in one layer. If you don't know how to do that, select all your layers, Shift Control C, just turns all those layers into a composition of their own, and you can then use that as if it's just one layer. If you need to edit it, you can double click on it and still get in there and change all that stuff up. So if I double click on that, it'll open this composition and you can see that's pretty much where we were, and all that work that we did earlier is still there. So back here, pre-composition, I'm going to make a new layer, so I'm going to deselect this one. I'm going to make a shape layer, and in the shape layer I'm going to create a gradient. So I haven't shown you guys how to do this yet, so I'll show you now. So click on the fill word link, so to get your fill options open, click on radial gradient here, press OK, and then I'm going to click and drag a radial gradient like this. Hold Alt Shift to keep it straight, and I'm holding Control to drag from the center like that. And now what I've got is a gradient shape layer with a gradient in the middle. To control that gradient, I'm going to go to my move tool or select tool, and I'm going to click on the actual ellipse here. That's the content of the shape layer. And now what I've got here is the ability to change how that gradient gets applied. So what I'm looking for is black pretty much touching the outside of the shape layer and white in the center. There's lots more you can do with gradients, but for now this is going to do what we want it to do. So I'm just going to go back to no TrackMat so you can see what this looks like. So I've drawn this over the top of my other layer. So if I move it out the way now, you see that's that one there. I'll pop it back on top just so you can see what's going on here. Alright, so the difference between TrackMat and Luma Mat. So TrackMat will apply the transparency, so you can see the edge of this shape layer here is transparent. I can see my layer behind it, so there's a transparency there. So TrackMat just follows that. So when I do this, I can go down to my logo now. There it is. And under the TrackMat setting, I'm going to go Alpha Mat, and this will just take that circle shape and show it through. Okay, so where the shape is acts like a spotlight so that we can see the thing underneath. If I move it, now should be able to move it. It's a little bit like a spotlight. See that? So it doesn't pay attention to the fill, just the transparency, and it makes it a bit like a spotlight shape. But you can see the shape underneath. So I'm going to whack that back there. So that's your alpha. So just taking the transparency and showing it through. You've got alpha inverted. Shows the rest. Okay, shows the rest. But here's a really, I think, quite interesting and useful one, Luma Mat. What this does is it uses the brightest areas as being very transparent and the darkest areas as being not transparent. So with the gradient I applied before, you can see that the bit in the middle, so if I move this around now, the bit in the middle is the most transparent, so it's letting all the white pixels or all the red pixels or all the blue pixels through. Right. And then the black bit is the least transparent. That's kind of a useful effect as well. So this shape layer can be animated just like anything else, and I reckon that's a pretty useful tool. So I hope you find that one useful. Don't forget to subscribe.